if you're not willing to push yourself into discomfort, if you're not willing to make a change in the way you're doing business, then you're going to move into maturity and then decline. There's just it's not even, this is science. This is 100% science. This isn't Eric Morin talking. This is science.
Jumpstart with Jeff.
It's the science of all businesses. And you can take a lot of big businesses, Kodak and Blockbuster and all these guys that failed. And you look, they just stopped reinventing themselves. Even Netflix is smart enough to keep reinventing themselves. Yeah. You have to keep reinventing your business model. You have to continue to make change. And so if you're ultimately saying, I'm not willing to make a change, but I want you to make me more money, that's not how this works. You have to be a person who's willing to push through discomfort and uncertainty. So if you're not willing to do that, just hang it up, because you won't get there. And look, there's a lot of, it's very, business and health are very analogous in the fact of, if you start to say, well, okay, I'm going to go change my body composition. Guess what? You're going to have to go through discomfort and uncertainty. You don't know that you're going to get there 100%. When you get to the gym in the morning, you don't know what you're going to look like. If you eat well for a month, you don't know what the scale is going to say. You have to push through. You have to have courage and commitment. And then ultimately, you have to get through that time, right? Get the capabilities around you, whether it's a trainer or a friend that meets you at the gym or whatever it is, or a nutritionist. And it's not till you get the results that you get the confidence. Look, any process that you do and any process worth going through is going to take a period of uncertainty. And you've got to be able to push through that discomfort during that time. And hell, if you haven't been in the gym for 6 months, it hurts. That first time hurts. And so does business. Yes. When you start making changes, it hurts. And if you're not willing to hurt, give it up. You'll never get there.
And just like the gym, business both need to have a cadence. Like you can't just go one time and you're like, oh, I'm muscular and I'm fit,
I have tried that, by the way. It didn't work out for me. Like I was joking with someone the other day. I said, I went to the gym 2 straight weeks in a row and nothing's changed. Just like, we do want that. Like we want to go to the gym for 2 straight weeks and go like, man, why are my pants not fitting better? Because it's like, well, because you've been eating like hell for 2 years.
You've been shoving pie down your butthole like crazy every night after dinner, and it's, let's face it. I think, most practices are kind of being run like a group chat. Everyone's got opinions. Nobody has decision rights. And then finally something breaks and then everybody looks at the dentist like, well, you're kind of the adult in the room, right? So it's just, we're not really operating with a great system, cadence, and things to look at. Where do you think that practices usually break first? Do you think it's people? We've talked a lot about leadership, and that's on the board too. People, execution, leadership, or cash. Where do you think the first breaking point is usually first?
List those out again. The first break. List those out, you said.
Whether it be people, execution, leadership, or cash.
Well, first of all of that pulls in leadership, because of the fact that the people ultimately are there because of the leadership. The cash position is there because of the leadership. All of this everything rises and falls with leadership. That's just a fact.
You follow sneaky question, Eric. I love it.
And if you don't have ultimately, cash position is a lagging indicator. It's profitability is a lagging indicator. No shows is a lagging indicator. Even calls and case acceptance is a lagging indicator. Call percentage, conversion is a lagging indicator. These are all lagging indicators. Now, we want to tell ourselves that even go to the call conversion, let's take a simple thing like that. Well, we'll use AI because that'll solve all our problems. It will solve some problems, not all of them.
Join the Limitless 90-day intensive to get 25 plus years of proven real-life results, all distilled into an unmatched experience that helps you create limitless power in 12 weeks or less, so you can ultimately take your practice, marriage, and life beyond the next level quickly. Save yourself decades of guesswork and painful mistakes. Apply now at www.limitlessdentistacademy.com.
And when we look at something like that, we go, no, it's not a people problem. I mean, if you're hiring and paying these people the least amount, the least educated, most likely to leave, then you're probably going to get high turnover. Which, by the way, if that's what you want, if you're okay with that, it's okay. It's just that you need to then go, we need to have a management system in place where we can then onboard people, train them up, get them qualified, oversee them, right? So that's it. Once again, just so sure your phone conversion, you go, well, I'll get Weave or I'll get Patient Prism or I'll get whatever. It's like,
okay,
but that's not going to solve the problem still, right? Because you still don't have oversight, you don't have training, you don't have systems, you don't have, and you probably don't have a cadence of communication and scorecards and these types of things. So all of these lagging indicators are all based on leading indicators that we want to ignore and we choose to ignore. And then when they don't show up, we usually blame somebody else for the consequences.
I love it. I was just going to say, somebody listening right now is blaming like marketing, right? And where the real issue is leadership avoidance. And you just hit that right on the head. I mean, it is absolutely leadership avoidance, 100%.
And even in marketing, you could say, I agree that and I think that there's a big difference between great marketing companies and poor marketing companies. I'm not gonna say there's not.
Absolutely.
But even then, you still have to say, do I have a model that has oversight and ... But are you blaming everything on external marketing? There's people coming in your door every day. If you blew them away, I promise you, they would tell everybody. In fact, I will tell you right now, in your practice, if you went and counted the number of spouses that do not come to your practice right now, it would blow your mind. Yeah. The truth is that you have a conversion problem because people are not going to tell you have a commoditized experience that ultimately they can get anywhere else, and there's no reason to convert and change to you, and you haven't done anything with those people. Now, if I ask you, you'll say, I've got the most amazing. No, you don't. You're nice, but they expect nice. You're a good dentist. They expect a good dentist. You're not doing anything that truly differentiates you in the marketplace. But even that is your referrals is a lagging indicator of ultimately who you could become as an organization. So it's just not true. Those are just stories.
Well, and I think too, just what you're talking about, especially with lagging indicators, like, listen, human beings, we don't behave like spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are great because they give us data and they give us information. And here's where I think dentists get uncomfortable because we love science. We love sitting in the science of things, but scaling, as we touched on at the beginning of this, it is the art too. There's such an art to it. And that's why I think, practices that look perfect on the spreadsheet, those practices can still implode, right? I mean, it's just if
one of the questions that was asked to me was what I think it was something. It was like a Dykema question that was asked to me, but it was something to the regard of like what does ultimately having high profit and high revenue ultimately what's behind the service that practice, like behind the scenes that practices still need to know that ultimately could be their downfall. Because sometimes those metrics were like, oh, we're doing everything right. It's like, it could be a house of cards.
Yes.
So it depends. Yeah.
Yes. And, in leadership, it's not necessarily about being liked at all. It's really about being trusted. And to look at it from that perspective, trusted by your team, trusted by your patients, trusted to cast the vision, all of those factors become such an important part of it.
I love that you said that. I think that we think that all great leaders need to be charismatic, and it's just not true. No. It's not true. Some leaders are charismatic, but if you do research behind it, a lot of the greatest leaders were not charismatic. And you do not need to be charismatic, but you do need to be consistent.
Yes.
That is important for people to know. Consistency equals trust. Yes. Consistency as a leader matters. You don't have to be charismatic, but you've got to show up. For instance, I would not call Nick Saban, right, a charismatic necessarily leader. I think he's a strong, consistent leader and expects results from his team. And he gets results, and people know that he's going to continue to deliver. But he gets results. He shows up the same way every day. Right, people know what they expect from him. I think that we get confused that we think that what I need to become is this leader that's like, yeah, everybody, let's go. Not necessarily. You might be a team that just gives people good, clear directions, vision, future. You care. I mean, I just think that people sometimes don't move themselves towards the path of leadership because they don't know what it should look like.
I agree. And I want to come back to this. So I think, if you ask a lot of dentists, they say, oh, I avoid drama. And I'm going to challenge you and say, no, you don't. Because if you're somebody who just says that, I think you outsource a lot of that drama to your team, and then you kind of act surprised when it shows up on your schedule, And so that's also too part of being like the nice guy or the nice gal. And I think that quietly sabotages your scale. Like leadership is not, I think leadership gets confused with a lot of times with management. First of all,
100%.
If I were to dare to say, I think leadership walks a finer line towards being on the darker side than on the lighter side, because there's a lot of things that come up in leadership that you have to handle that aren't necessarily the most fun sometimes. But to be a great leader, it's like the buffalo running into the storm, because when you run into it, you're going to be through it that much faster. It's having the uncomfortable conversation that could be handled in 5 minutes, as opposed to putting the conversation off for 4 weeks and letting things continue just to build and build and build and get worse. Right?
100%.
So, and that's also too, because when you don't do those things, the team is run around. They don't have clarity on things. They don't have a direction. And let's be really honest. A lot of times, if it's like that in business, it's also like that at home. Like there's confusion,
I can guarantee you 100%. I shared a story yesterday. I said, my son calls me up. He says, Dad, I clipped this car getting out of the parking lot. And, of course, is a 17-year-old, driver. And I said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to leave a note, right? And then I said, it was at school campus. I said, you're going to get the security guard. You're going to document this, and the lady walks up and I kind of show him how to handle it. And I said, I'm going to pay for whatever damages. And, even that's a leadership moment. I could have just said, hey kid, did anyone see you? All right, get out of there. Right. But in those moments in our lives, we're constantly being challenged on who we are. And I always find this conversation when we get here so interesting, because so many people think especially doctors. When I started the Leadership Academy, which is one of our programs at Tower, the doctors the first year we did it, the doctors just sent all their team members. I was like, that's crazy. It's like, you think you're the top of the organization. You think you've got it figured out? I mean, the ego that you think you've got leadership just completely figured out, that everyone else needs to get it together. That's crazy. No, the doctor's got to be there first. They're the highest level. And how do they make sure everyone's doing it? So you're going to send all your people to an academy to learn how to become better leaders, and you have no idea what they're even talking about. It's insane. It's crazy. And look, I love profit and loss statements. I think I went almost blind looking at them. I think I look at gosh knows how many a day. I understand metrics, numbers, KPIs, scorecards. I can, look at any M&A, transaction, whatever it is. So we can get into all the business science, and I could spend 100 podcasts talking through that. But when we talk about subjects like this, sometimes people think, I got it. And the truth is, I encourage you, I've met very few phenomenal leaders in dentistry. That doesn't mean I haven't met plenty of good leaders, and plenty of great people. But to become a phenomenal leader is tough. And it's a discipline, but I will promise on the other side is the scalable organization. It is the organization you're talking about, because people will be so attracted to you. I had someone ask me recently, like, how did you get this team together? And sometimes I go, I don't even know. I'm just blown away, because I was like, all of them tomorrow could pick up they could just pick up a phone and have another job. Correct. And yet they continue to work for me. And I find that as a testament. I'm like, I must be doing something right, because I work with these phenomenal leaders, and they choose me. And so I take that as right when I said that we have to take stock, and everything is a culmination of the decisions I've made over a period of time. So I'm like, I must be doing something well, that I have these people in my life. And by the way, it's not a given. All I have to do is have a day where I become a different person, and they go, I'm out of here. He's not like he used to be. And so these are all important things. Yeah.
For sure.
We're always being judged all the time, in every moment. Our spouse judges us, our kids judge us, our team members judge us, and we judge ourselves.
Thanks for listening to the show. If this podcast episode resonated with you, make sure to reach out and send me a direct message on Instagram at Dr. Jeff Buske. That's dr.jeffbuske. Look forward to chatting with you. Till next time.